Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. I bring you my next recipe in my series of delicious Italian dishes. We've made some bolognese, we've made some fresh pasta. Now let's put it all together and make this, a delicious lasagna. There's nothing more comforting. Let's look at the ingredients that you're going to need. The full list of ingredients will be in the description below. Let's go through them very quickly. For my pasta, I need some flour and eggs. We're going to be making our beef ragu. So we need some minced beef, chopped tomatoes, water and wine, some carrots, celery and onion, tomato paste. I've got some dry basil and oregano, bay leaf, garlic and beef stock. Finally, for bechamel, we're going to need some milk, butter, flour and some nutmeg, and olive oil for frying, and salt and pepper for seasoning. I also have an assortment of cheeses here that I'm going to put into my lasagna. So I've got some mozzarella, I've got some parmesan, and of course, because of my love affair with Irish dairy, I've got some red Irish cheddar, but also some white Irish cheddar. Let's get to cooking. First, I'm going to make my pasta, and because we've loads to get done, I'm just going to do it in a bowl. Put in your flour. Still make a bit of a well in the center, and crack in your eggs. And using a fork, whisk the eggs and incorporate them to the flour. And once a bit of a paste is formed, you can go in with your hands. Once it all comes together, dump it into your work surface. And we're gonna need this for 10 minutes. When you're starting with your dough to stick it, use your bench scraper. It will really help you. Because I have quite a few components to make today, I'm only going to quickly show you how to do this, but if you want an in-depth guide of how to make homemade pasta, click the link up here. It's been just about 10 minutes now, and you can see how smooth my dough has become, and it picked up all of the dry flour, and if I press it, it bounces back, so we're looking perfect. I'm just going to cover this in some cling film, trying to get very little air in there. Wrap it tightly, and I'm going to let this rest in the fridge for 30 minutes, and in the meantime I get to making my beef ragu. Okay, let's quickly start on our ragu. I'm going to start preheating my pan, and I'm going to put in a drizzle of olive oil, and when that comes to temperature, I'm going to start chopping my onions. Just want to give them a rough dice, and you're going to go straight into the pot. Next, I'm going to prepare my celery and my carrots. Give them a stir. And I just want them to start becoming a bit translucent. At this point, I'm going to also add a pinch of salt and pepper to the onions. Starting to soften, so I'm going to go in with my carrots and my celery. I want to give my sofrito a good 5 to 10 minutes to soften up a little bit. My sofrito is starting to soften down, and I can really smell the onions and the celery and the carrots. So I'm going to go in with some garlic as well. I'm just going to slice it. You can never have enough garlic. Give that a bit of a stir. After 1 or 2 minutes, I'm going to add in my beef. Stir that through. Again, because we're making so many components, I'm only going to show you quickly how to make the beef ragu. But if you're interested in doing a ragu alla bolognese, make sure you check my video. It will be linked up here. I want to make sure that I'm stirring my beef because I want it all to break up and mix in with the veggies. And also I want to give it all a little bit of color. I don't really want to see any pink or red bits before I move on. Okay, looks like we're there now. So I'm going to add in the rest of my ingredients. I have some tomato paste. So I'm going to stir through. I'm then going to go in with some herbs. I've got some dry basil, I like to crush my dry herbs in between my pans. I feel that it releases a lot of their fragrance and flavor. I also have some oregano. And next I'm gonna go in with my wine. I want to mix it in with all my other ingredients and then leave it for about 2 to 5 minutes until the alcohol evaporates, and then I can continue adding my ingredients. Okay, we're almost done. I'm gonna go in with my chopped tomatoes and I'm going to add in some beef stock. And again, here I'm at the point that I need to assess if there's enough liquid in my ragu. The idea is that we'll be cooking the ragu for a long time. The longer you cook it, the tastier it's gonna be. Today I'm only gonna leave it for 40 minutes to an hour. So I don't think I need to add too much liquid, but just to help beef stock cube dissolve and everything kind of marry and cook together, I'm gonna add a little bit of water. Give that a stir. And finally, just before finishing up, I'm gonna add my 2 bay leaves. Let that come to a simmer and then reduce the heat down. And I'm gonna let it cook, like I said, for 40 minutes to an hour. In the meantime, we can go and roll out our pasta. My pasta dough has finished resting, so I'm going to get another wrap. It feels a lot tackier now than I did before because as it rests, any dry bits of flour soak up any excess water, so the whole ball of dough becomes nice and moist. I'm going to split this in half. I'm going to wrap up one of the halves because you definitely don't want this dough to dry, while I work with this half. So I'm going to flatten it down a little bit and make sure you have some flour beside you. It's going to be your best friend. And flour at the top and the bottom. And then we're going to start putting it through our pasta machine. Start at the biggest setting and run it through. Fold it in half and run it through one more time. Then we can move to the next setting. Flour your dough and run it through again. Fold it in half and pass it through a second time. And continue doing that until you get to the very last setting. That's my long sheet of pasta. I can literally see the light through it, so this is the perfect thickness. Now all I have to do is cut it up into the right size to fit my baking dish. Because of how much ragu I'm making and how much pasta I have, I'm gonna use this size baking dish. And I think the best way to cut my pasta would be so that it fits this way. So I would need 2 sheets of pasta per layer. So I think that's gonna be perfect. So I'm just gonna use this as a rough guide. And chop. Then I'm going to use this one as a template to cut my other lasagna sheets. I'm just going to roll out the rest of my dough and cut them into the same shapes, and then by the time I'm finished, my ragu will almost be done, so I can get started on my bechamel. My ragu is almost done, so I'm just going to move it to the side for a bit while I get working on my bechamel. This is the last component. I'm going to start by adding some butter and let it melt down. Okay, now that the butter is melted, I'm going to go in with my flour. and whisk that in to get rid of the raw flour flavor. We're just making a roux. After about 2 minutes, the flour should be cooked away now. So I'm gonna go in with my milk. I'm gonna start by adding a little bit at a time and whisking constantly, because this way I will avoid getting any lumps in my bechamel. Once it all starts looking like it's coming together and it's a homogeneous mixture, you can pour in the rest of your milk. Ideally, you would add some freshly grated nutmeg to your bechamel. I don't have any, so I'm going to use powdered. Just a little pinch will do. Maybe 2. Keep whisking constantly, and we're just going to cook this for probably about 2 minutes until we feel the sauce starting to thicken. Don't take it too far, because then it'll be very difficult to pour when you're putting your lasagna together. Okay, I can now start to feel some resistance on my sauce, which is good. It means that it's thickening up. That probably also means milk is about to boil, but once that happens, you want to take it off the heat pretty much straight away. Okay, you can probably see it's starting to get really thick now. Maybe just a little bit longer. Okay, I think I'm there with my bechamel now. I'm gonna turn off the heat, but I wanna show you its consistency. It still pours, which is good, but obviously it's thickening quite a bit. If I run my finger across the back, it totally holds its shape. Oh, hot. So now we've all our components ready, so we can start to assemble our lasagna. Right, we're all ready to assemble. There's 1,000,001 ways that different recipes tell you how you should layer your lasagna. I don't think there's an actual traditional or perfect way, so I'm going to show you how I like to do it. First, I like to go in with some of the meat sauce. Just at the bottom and spread that around a little bit, all in the corners as well. It's perfect. And then we go in with our first layer of lasagna sheets. This is why it's so handy to have your own homemade lasagna sheets, because they fit perfectly. Next, I'm gonna add in some cheese. I've got the mozzarella. And really, you can use any of your favorite cheeses here. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I'm gonna add in a little sprinkle also of my white cheddar and some parmesan. Then I'm gonna give my bechamel a quick stir, because it will keep thickening as it sits, so just keep the consistency nice and pourable. I'm gonna add in some on top. And that's our first layer done, so we can just continue doing the same. Some meat, followed by more pasta and the cheese. And continue doing that until you're at the very top. Okay, this is my top layer. So I'm just gonna spread my bechamel around a little bit. It's getting a bit thick on me now, but it's okay. And then I like to finish off my lasagna with my favorite cheese, which is some delicious cheddar cheese. You're just gonna sprinkle that on top. I think I want more. And that's my lasagna assembled. I'm not gonna put it into the oven, which has been preheating at 180 degrees, and it's gonna cook for 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So I'll see you in a bit. Oh, Teddy. My lasagna just came out of the oven. It looks absolutely fantastic. This beautiful color on top. You can see that it's still bubbling. Now we have to wait for about 20 minutes for it to cool down and actually settle. That will allow you to actually cut nice and neat slices out of it. And I forgot to tell you, when the lasagna went to the oven, you cover it with tin foil for the first 30 minutes then take the tin foil off and let it cook for another 5 to 10 minutes for it to develop the color on top. So don't forget to do that. Now, we just have to wait a bit longer and we can finally cut into it and give it a taste. It's just gone 20 minutes, I cannot wait any longer. I need to see what it looks like inside and I'm dying to taste it. There it is, our delicious lasagna. You can see our nice layers, all of the meat and the bechamel and all of the cheese. Oh, it's calling my name. I am so ready for this. Let me dig right in. This is one of the best lasagnas I've ever had. And not just because I made it. That does give it extra points. But it's absolutely unreal. The ragu that we made is so delicious. It has so much flavor. The homemade bechamel with all the cheese melted throughout. And the top layer gets nice and crispy because of the cheddar. And the extra 10 minutes in the end with the tin foil off. This is the best. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. What can I tell you? Everybody knows how delicious lasagna is, and you've made everything from scratch, therefore it's going to taste that much better. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what you thought of it and maybe how many layers you like to have in your lasagna. For more videos such as this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. We post every week. If you like this recipe, make sure you check out my other videos in my series of Italian dishes. But also, you can have a look at my series of Mexican-inspired recipes or my traditional Irish food. With that, I leave you for this video and enjoy. Ciao! Beef ragu, cheese soufflé, papaya pudding on flambe. Okay, we're almost done. For the widest setting. That didn't sound good.